Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we have another problem to try and solve for Erik ten Hag. Who can you play on the right wing? The other day we were talking about experimenting with something like a 4-4-2 diamond, for example, but realistically I don't think that's the case, especially in the short term. So we need to find a player to play on the right hand side. Anthony, of course, is having problems off the pitch at the moment, which we won't speak about. Sancho, of course, seemingly may be falling out with the manager. Not too sure what's happened there. So we need to look at some potential solutions. So I bring you option 1, Bruno Fernandes. Now, before you guys get too concerned, too worried about me suggesting this, don't worry. Okay, I don't actually think this is the best option, but we still need to discuss it because it is definitely something which Ten Hag could do because we've seen him doing it in the past. So the question is, if Bruno Fernandes plays on the right-hand side of the attack, what does he bring? What does he do? Well, one thing he really brings from this position is tactical fluidity, because no matter where he plays on the football pitch, he doesn't tend to stick to one area. So if you play him on the right wing, at times he'll be wide and offering threat in this way, but at other times he'll look to come inside, make runs in behind, do lots of different work. So that's something you get from Bruno Fernandes on the right-hand side. It does give you the potential and the opportunity to tinker with tactics in different ways. Something else which Bruno Fernandes brings on his right hand side is the ability at times to drop deeper, and this is actually something that when he does play here, he likes to do it quite a lot, and the reason for this is because in a deeper, wider area, you get more time on the ball than what you do in the middle of the pitch, more than what you do in these areas. So by dropping to these positions, what Bruno Fernandes is often able to do when he plays on the right wing is drop deep, get on a turn, and then look for those long passes over the top. And we know he's very, very good at this. He's a brilliant passer from these areas. Finding someone like Rasmus Højlund potentially who could be a runner in behind, but of course also Marcus Rashford on the other side. That is definitely something that Bruno Fernandes could bring from the right hand side of the attack. Importantly, Bruno is also a good passer from out wide higher up the pitch as well. Now, I don't think we would constantly see him in these areas realistically because it's not really his style. But when he does peel into wide areas, his delivery into the box is very good. But not only is his delivery good, he's actually pretty good for a central player. He's pretty good at working himself kind of half a yard of space before then swinging the ball into the box. This is something which someone like Jadon Sancho, for example, actually struggles with. Bruno Fernandes does have this knack for just working himself a little bit of room before looking to swing a ball in. And as we know, we've even seen it over the international break, his delivery into the box is very, very good, and that could really benefit someone like Rasmus Højlund. So it could work in that way. Bruno Fernandes would also offer something off the ball from the right wing as well. Let's say when the ball is on the other side, maybe with someone like Rashford, Dalot, or whoever the left back may be. Bruno Fernandes is really good at attacking spaces in behind like this. And his timing of run is again actually very good. He is good making late runs into the box. His heading accuracy needs to improve because we've seen him have some good chances from these areas over the past couple of seasons. But again, this is something that he would bring to the team from this wider position. However, my problem with Bruno Fernandes on the wing is up against a deep block, is he going to bring you 1 versus 1 ability? Now, yes, he's good at working half a yard to get across into the box. That's very different, though, to dribbling past a player. Bruno Fernandes is not someone who is going to isolate a fullback, take them on, beat them, and drive towards the byline, for example. It's not really what Bruno Fernandes does, so that would be a problem. If he was to play on this side, he would almost certainly need someone to overlap him on quite a regular basis. Now, to be fair, that is somewhat doable with someone like Wan-Bissaka or someone like Dalot. United could do that. But my problem, mainly with Bruno Fernandes on the right wing, is really simply, it means he's not in the middle. That's the biggest problem for me. I think Bruno Fernandes could do a job on the right-hand side. I think he would do pretty well there. But you need Bruno Fernandes in the middle because he is so good in those areas. So for me, this isn't the option which Ten Hag should go with. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order. Another player who has played on the right wing previously in his career and is therefore an option for Erik ten Hag is of course Mason Mount. That's assuming he's back from that injury. Hopefully he will be in the next couple of weeks. This is an option for the right wing position, a genuine option, because he played there in spells under Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea, and to give him credit, he done really very well. Now, What does Mason Mount bring from the right wing is the question. Well, in the first sense, you get something a little bit similar to Bruno Fernandes. Someone who will bring fluidity and tactical flexibility, the ability, again, to tinker with formation and structures, because he can play narrow, he can play wide, he can make the run in behind, he can come short towards the ball. He does give you something different to a traditional winger in that sense. There's more flexibility in terms of structure. Now, in terms of what he does past that, he then starts to differ from Bruno Fernandes a little bit, because what Mason Mount is really good at doing is receiving the ball, opening his body up, and then carrying the ball forward. He's a much better ball carrier than someone like Bruno Fernandes, and that is an attribute which is often needed on wider areas of the pitch. On the wing, you often need someone who can get on a turn and carry the ball forward. Mason Mount can certainly do that, and I think what you would get from Mount playing on the right wing is a security on the ball. Keeping possession for his side, kind of being a way in which you progress the ball up the pitch. He then gets to these positions, turns round, goes backwards, and then plays it to someone else. He would be a good way of kind of gradually moving forward up the pitch. I think Mason Mount would be quite effective in that way. But I think the way in which he would be the most effective is actually when the ball's being built on the other side, and you suck the opposition over one side like this. You're looking for them to defend in this sort of way, and then you move the ball backwards, like so, and then you get Mason Mount moving into these half spaces, where he can then kind of get on the ball, step onto it. From there is where he's really good, especially if you could get someone overlapping him. He does have this ability to slide these sorts of passes in between defences, like here, or he can maybe cross towards the back post for perhaps a runner like Marcus Rashford. He's also capable of the occasional long shot. This would probably be the best way of getting more from Mason Mount from the right wing position. Now, that does mean that once again, we probably need an overlapping right back. Again, that could be Wan-Bissaka, it could be Dalot making this run. It would be needed. You need someone to get round him. And the reason for that is because, again, like Bruno Fernandes, he isn't a winger. He is good at carrying the ball forward. He does stride well. He's got good athleticism. But again, if you're getting him into a 1-versus-1 position up against a fullback, is he your man who's going to skill past someone or beat someone with a burst of pace? Not really. It's not really Mason Mount's game. It's not really what he's known for. And again, the main reason for that is because he is not a winger. And that would be the problem for me with Mason Mount in this system. Again, against a low block, perhaps, when you're trying to wiggle your way through a tight, compact defence. I don't think Mason Mount really has that in his locker. In more open games, in transition, where he can perhaps carry the ball more and use his vision more and his energy more, then he could be quite good. But as a wide right winger in isolation against a low block, again, I don't think it really works for Mason Mount for me, because again, he's just not quite a winger. He can play there, but it's not what he's great at. This is pretty much the main reason why I think Facundo Pellistri is actually probably the best shout, and that's because, unlike the other two, he is a right winger. He's a natural right winger. He's someone who thrives in playing in wide areas. So from initially a tactical point of view, you suddenly don't need that overlapping fullback as much, which means you can perhaps have a better defensive structure, a better rest defence, leaving Facundo Pellistri to play as a wide player. And again, this is what he wants to do, and unlike the other two, he wants to go 1-versus-1 up against a fullback. He's very, very good at baiting players in and accelerating past them and putting a delivery into the box, which could be really useful with someone like Rasmus Højlund in the middle, Bruno Fernandes arriving late, Marcus Rashford doing the same. But maybe even more so, maybe even more importantly, is Facundo Pellistri's ability to get to the byline. Because not only does he take players on in this situation and then cross the ball, he can also, if he wants to, get all the way into these areas. And this is where I could see him actually genuinely having a very good link-up with someone like Rasmus Højlund, whose movement in the box is brilliant, in the 6-yard box, in and around these areas. He wants to get those poacher goals, those tap-ins. So as Facundo Pellistri would kind of dart towards here, Højlund would make the move towards the front post. That is the sort of goal which Rasmus Højlund wants to be scoring. And I think Facundo Pellistri could genuinely have a really good dynamic with him. And like I said, from a tactical point of view, it lets Bruno Fernandes play in his best position still. It means you don't need quite as much attacking threat from the fullback. And you've got yourself a proper winger. Someone who is also going to be really good in transition. We've seen it in kind of cameo appearances from the bench so far in his career. When he comes on against tired legs on the transition in counter-attacks, he's really dangerous. His timing of movement is brilliant. The runs he makes across players is really good, either to get on the ball himself or to open up space for someone else. He's very selfless on the counter-attack. And genuinely, he is a weapon in that way. In terms of whether or not he's ready to actually be a starter for United, I had two main questions. One would be his ball retention. It's all well and good being a direct winger. I think we all love to see that. Someone which just gets up against a fullback in kind of a old school winger sort of fashion. That's what Facundo brings to your side. But in the modern day, you do need someone who occasionally kind of slows it down, keeps the ball for your side. Not sure if the Uruguayan does that yet in his career, but potentially we could see it moving forward. But also my other concern would be a similar concern to what we have with Garnacho. Now, Garnacho was absolutely brilliant last season, played phenomenally in pretty much every game that he played, but he was always coming from the bench, last 20 minutes against tired legs. This season, in the first couple of weeks when we saw him starting games, he wasn't as effective. I do worry if the Uruguayan winger would have the same problem, where he's much better against tiring legs rather than fresh from the start. But I guess you don't really know until you actually play him and, let it happen. In my opinion, Facundo Pellistri would be the best bet to solve that right wing problem. I think Bruno Fernandes would do a good job there, but you just need him in the centre because he's so good there. Mason Mount would be really good in transition in that position and would carry a lot of threat. I think he would be very good. But against low blocks, I don't think he offers you enough 1-versus-1 quality to really make something happen. Whereas Facundo Pellistri does a little bit of both. And therefore, for me, is the ideal fit. However, there is a fourth option. And an option you may have not considered yet. Jadon Sancho and Ten Hag kiss and make up, ride off happily into the sunset. Jadon Sancho comes on the most incredible comeback, becomes the best right winger in world football, and fulfills that potential we know he has. It's going to happen, right? Is it? That's probably the best solution for Manchester United, because I think Jadon Sancho, aside from Anthony, is the best right winger at the club. He hasn't quite clicked there so far in his career, but we know what he brings to the side. So this would ideally be the solution, but there's no telling whether or not that will happen. In terms of outside of that, the young Uruguayan winger would be my solution, but I wouldn't be too mad about either of these two either. I think Ten Hag has plenty of solutions for the right wing. Potentially none of them are optimal, but that's what happens when your football club is a mess. So you never really get optimal solutions. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. What would be the best solution? Is the best solution to give Sancho another try, another chance, and kind of put things past them? Is it to give the young Uruguayan his chance? Is it to bring Mason Mount back from injury and onto the right wing? Or is it to shift Bruno Fernandes a little bit wider? Let me know what you think Ten Hag should do in the comments down below. And maybe you have a different solution as well. Maybe it's a new formation. Let me know what you think. But apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.